10.
Slashed spending means cuts to critical services and less food for local families.
We just hope for the best. We do what we can do.
After so much debate on the federal budget, lawmakers have a deal, but still has to pass the House and Senate before being signed by the president.
So tonight we take a closer look inside that plan and what those $39 billion in cuts could mean for you. What we found is stirring up a lot of concern among families that rely on the Women's, Infants, and Children, or WIC program. And Local 6's Jason Hibbs joins us now with tonight's top story. Jason, just how much is being cut here?
Scott, more than $500 million in federal funding may be removed.
And this is motherhood.
It's not just WIC facing budget cuts. Programs that help prevent the spread of sexually transmitted diseases, highway construction, high-speed rail construction, and hundreds of other programs will see drastic cuts.
Yeah, there's a lot of cuts involved in this, and I understand
Congress votes later this week.
We'll find out pretty soon. So, Jason, how will this affect, say, people like you talked to today?
Okay, well, Scott, I did speak with the Kentucky Cabinet for Health and Family Services. They're not really sure what this means, but the National WIC Association did release a statement saying that the funding level is not as good as they had hoped, but that nevertheless it's adequate to meet the program needs.
And we'll have to wait and see how much. I understand the program's about $7 billion, so this is a 7% cut. That's a pretty significant amount of cut. All right, well, thanks very much. Well, if you would like to see the entire proposed list of programs on the chopping block, you can log on to our web channel and click on I Saw It on 6.
Judge Stark. Graves County Commonwealth Attorney David Hargrove says no dates have been set for Judge Stark to rehear the case.
Well, one local couple says just trying to make it in and out of their apartment complex is becoming a real nuisance because they're disabled and there's no parking space designated for them. Robert Williams says the parking lot at his complex in Johnson City, Illinois doesn't have a handicap parking space and it gets crowded during the day. Williams says he's spoken to the Williamson County Housing Authority to set aside a spot, but tells Local 6 they still haven't responded to his request. Williams suffers from multiple sclerosis and says his disability, added with the headache of just trying to get a parking space, is getting to him.
It makes me feel upset, sometimes humiliated, but I'm going to keep fighting it.
Well, the director of the Housing Authority says the couple would be eligible for a space if they lived in a handicap-accessible apartment. The Williams don't, but they hope the Housing Authority does grant their request. All right, any building starts with, of course, a proper foundation.
A local district took the first steps toward getting a new school off to a great start. The Paducah School Board approved plans to tear down homes located on 32 parcels of land near the current school on Lone Oak Road, and right now the board is waiting on paperwork before demolition can begin. Superintendent Randy Green says a new middle school will be like a night and day difference for students and for staff.
We're talking about an ancient building to a state-of-the-art building with all the bells and whistles, and our children deserve that.
Demolition in the area should start in July. The district hopes to start school construction in the fall.
Now, your Weather Authority first forecast.
Time for that first look at weather, and this is what spring's supposed to feel like.
Nice today.
This is what we like. Yesterday we had the spring showers.
Yeah.
Today we got that sunshine, very comfortable temperatures this afternoon, and low humidity. It's what we expect in April, and we're going to get a little more of it. The temperatures respond already into the upper 60s, so we've got some warm temperatures. We do have some more April showers in the forecast. We'll talk about those.
All right, thanks, Scott. Okay.
Turning now to decision 2011, the Democratic Party is pressuring Republican candidates in a local state to reveal their tax returns. Kentucky Democratic Party Chairman Dan Logsdon is wondering what Republican candidates have to hide. Candidates Phil Moffitt and Senate President David Williams are refusing to release their tax information. However, the other Republican candidate, Bobby Holzclaw, plans to release hers this week. The incumbent governor, Steve Beshear, releases his returns each year and plans to do the same this year. Well, schools across the United States are looking for different ways to help kids make better eating choices.
This is interesting. One local Chicago public school is actually taking kind of a controversial stand. The principal is telling students they can either eat cafeteria food or go hungry. According to the Chicago Tribune, students aren't allowed to bring lunches from home at Little Village Academy unless they have a medical excuse. It's a policy that's been in place actually for several years. The school's principal says she was tired of seeing children bring chips and soda for lunch. So what do you think about this? Should a school be able to dictate what a student eats for lunch, or should that choice be left up to the parents? Head to our web channel, WPSDLocal6.com, click on Join the Conversation, and share your comments on this story. Well, Senators John McCain and John Kerry are teaming up to protect your personal information. Today, the lawmakers unveiled their new commercial privacy bill. That so-called Privacy Bill of Rights targets companies both online and off. It calls for them to get your permission before sharing your private information with third parties.
They could sell it without asking permission or even letting you know that they're selling your own information. You shouldn't have to be a computer genius in order to be able to opt out of information sharing.
That bill would also require companies to let people see what information they have collected on them. State attorneys general and the Federal Trade Commission would be responsible for enforcing that bill.
Trump 2012. That's what you could see, even if the billionaire loses the Republican nomination. Though Donald Trump has not made any official moves to run for president, he says he might run as an independent candidate if the GOP nomination falls through. According to Trump in the Wall Street Journal today, Republicans worry Trump may pull valuable support away from their party if he decides to run as a third-party candidate. Kids raced around the fields of Stuart Nelson Park today, scrambling for some of the more than 3,000 eggs in this year's Easter egg dash.
And of course, each age group gleefully searched for the 3 prize eggs, hoping to cash in on, say, a board game or a play set or some other toy. A total of 233 kids, plus, of course, the Easter Bunny, turned out for this year's dash. Looks like they had a very good time.
Yeah, good weather for it today.
I missed those. Wasn't that fun? Good time.
To be a kid again.
Oh, yes. Well, you're watching 10 and 10. We got lots more to come.
When you can expect to shop again at the Opry popular store.
Skies, and so to the 60s. 63 for a high. Lows will be in the 40s. Another chance for rain comes back in here Monday and Tuesday.
Okay, Kyle, thanks. Well, first flood waters, then a lawsuit appeared to spell doom for a large shopping mall in Nashville, known for featuring bright lights and dozens of popular stores. Now, word it will reopen.
It's kind of amazing, actually. Turnabout, really, it's an amazing turnabout based on what's happened there. First, let's just show you what Nashville's Opry Mills Mall looked like before the floods. Just about a year ago then let's go back to May of 2010. You remember that? Just amazing.
Yeah, those floods surrounded the mall. Now Opry Mills says reconstruction is set to begin and should finish by spring 2012. The Mills company has been in a dispute with 17 different insurance companies over their obligations to pay for damage.
And Mills company president Greg Goodman says that lawsuit is ongoing, but they have actually reached an agreement with lenders to start rebuilding, and Governor Bill Haslam says the reopening could mean more than 3,000 jobs and bring more than $20 million in sales tax revenue. That's got to be very good news. Well, folks, if you are planning on buying a Toyota, be prepared to wait in line. The Japanese car company anticipates supply shortages this summer, of course, because of that tsunami and earthquake that hit Japan last month. Production has slowed in North America and Japan as the company struggles with parts and assembly issues. However, Toyota has more than 300,000 vehicles still in stock.
Scientists using tiny robots to fight diseases. Sounds like something out of a science fiction movie, but it's actually happening in labs in the United States.
Who knows? Could happen soon to us. How these microscopic machines are helping advance the way doctors treat you.
You're watching WPSD Local 6.
Now, technology and medicine are actually working together to fight diseases that have been resistant to antibiotics.
The technology is tiny, with particles 50,000 times smaller than the width of a human hair. But what they do could be very big. Work in clinical trials to be done, but it's encouraging.
All right, let's scan the satellites now. 2 people were injured in a small plane crash in Southern California. A flight instructor and a student pilot were hurt when this single-engine Cessna 150 hit the side of that hangar at Corona Municipal Airport this morning. Officials say they're not sure who was at the controls when the plane crashed during takeoff. The teacher and the student were both hospitalized. No word yet on their condition. The cause of that accident still under investigation.
The 150th anniversary of the Civil War is being commemorated in South Carolina. Reenactors fired an authentic 1847 cannon, and according to historians, it's the same type of cannon fired on Fort Sumter on April 12, 1861. Now, all day today, Cannons will fire from various sites to mark the 150th anniversary. And earlier this morning, you could see 2 beams of light reaching skyward from Fort Sumter. At 4 o'clock, a single beam was lit, and about 30 minutes later, a second beam signified a nation torn in 2.
Interesting. Now I have to take that and segue now into sports, where Albert Pujols is trying to get away from his team or something. I don't know. He's just not playing well.
He has not played well at all this year. The Cardinals, though, actually have won 2 in a row for the first time, trying to make it 3 to 9 years this year. 20 years old, all the talent in the world, and can't get a full ride. Amazing.
He'll be all right, I think sometime in the future.
Someday.
Thanks, Jeff.
Night, everybody.